Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hi everyone.
Hi, everyone. Good to
I'm
see
here
you.
with Sarah Anne Stewart, who is a friend and an amazing health and nutrition coach, and the founder of
Cool.
sorry,
Cool.
Sarah, tell everybody what it is that you're doing
Yeah.
and what you're up to these days with your new business and.
Yeah. So I run a company called Holistically Slim, which is what I do is private coaching to help women reprogram subconscious patterns around eating and their relationship with food and their body. And I also help entrepreneurs reprogram subconscious beliefs around working really hard and why health should come first, and it's the most important thing. And you can't buy your health back. So I work with a lot of wonderful people in those regards. And then I also run an online course called Meditate Slim, which is meditation for weight loss and reprogramming thinking around food.
Awesome. Yeah, I met Sarah a little over a year ago, and we actually have a lot of common friends, and I really love her work. I mean, I think it's kind of taking the health and nutrition, the trends to the next level. And I mean, because as we've talked about before, and we talked about in Sarah's interview in the summit, I believe in meditation. I believe that the calmness in the mind is part of your health and nutrition. And I think it's interesting. We were just talking about what we could be discussing on this Facebook Live, and you were saying you've been getting a lot of inquiries from probably busy entrepreneurs and people with startups and how to balance life and nutrition.
And it was interesting after, and people from watching just the interview, and a lot of people are asking the question, well, in the startup phase, I might not have a lot of money, so I can't invest in organic food. And I'm putting I'm literally putting everything I have into this company, and I'm running around, and I feel like the last thing I can do is hire a health coach, or the last thing I can do is, take time to cook and so forth. And it's interesting. So I've seen that side of it. And then I've also seen the side where where there's a lot of entrepreneurs that get so successful, and then they outsource everything, and they're outsourcing their chef, and they're outsourcing their grocery shopping, and their dog walker and their nanny. And then they're taking away all the things that bring them joy and happiness and fulfillment. Right. So, we have both sides, and it really comes down to just the subconscious patterns of what you were raised with in terms of taking care of your health. So we can always make an excuse. And it's just interesting to get questions on both sides of like how much I should outsource if I am at the place where I am successful. And then on the other side of what do I do if I don't have the money to put into this right now? And I think they're both really amazing questions. And I think it comes down to connecting and finding your truth and what really is going to make you happy and healthy first and foremost before your business. Because if you don't have your health, again, you don't have anything, right? So, when your health goes, your business goes. And I think we have to think of things as a long-term journey. And it's interesting that short-term success and money in your bank doesn't mean long-term fulfillment. And you look at the top CEOs and people at the end of their lives, and they really talk about how much they missed out on because they weren't in the present. They weren't with their friends and family. And I say like everything. So when I work with entrepreneurs, I look at the whole aspect of their business and the whole aspect of their lives, and we look at things from a holistic standpoint. So how do we think of every area of our life interconnected, and what are the parts that are out of balance, and how do we bring those more into balance so that we find long-term fulfillment? And that's when you're in a startup, or that's when you are really successful. It doesn't really matter what side you're on. I still have a strong belief that your health needs to be first, because a decision can change your entire business. And when you're not in the mindset of clarity, you can go both ways. And I'm sure you saw this when you started your company. And
a big time.
Yeah. And we work in the health space, and yet we're still like, I still have to remind myself daily, like it's really important to put my health first and figure out the subconscious patterns around why am I attached to that outcome of my business? Where is the ego coming from? Why do I want the money? Why, like those things, because those things are what blocks you from really taking care of yourself in the long run.
It's really incredible how often I see this. Yeah, I went through that too. Not knowing how to balance my health and fitness along with my business, and I had that old paradigm of work really hard and work my body into the ground. I actually trained for an ultra marathon, or actually no. I didn't train for an ultra marathon because I was too busy working, and then I ran ultra and got injured, which then debilitated me for it's been almost a year and a half or 2 years now. And it's gotten better, but yeah, it's that thought, the pattern of suffering and
right.
pounding our bodies into the ground and not sleeping enough and not drinking enough water, not eating healthy enough. And I'm sure you know the Soylent story. I think of those guys. Do you know about Soylent and how they were founders of this tech startup, and they were too busy working, so they decided they didn't want to eat anymore, or they didn't have time to eat real food.
Yeah,
so they developed this powder drink.
Yeah, I actually was just talking about this. Yesterday I was hearing about this in Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, this obsession with working so hard that we just quit caring about our bodies, but in the end, it's more detrimental. You get sick and then you're out of work for a few weeks, or your mind can't function and you can't be productive. And that took me like a couple of years to learn that pounding my body into the ground and not sleeping and staying up till 3 a.m. working is actually worse than getting, 7-8 hours of sleep and then working a little less.
Right. And I think you see your productivity. I think you see your decision making. I think you make decisions out of an emotional state. I think out of anxiety, out of stress instead of out of clarity. And I think that can be the biggest, the way your company goes. And I also think it's really important to start looking at culture and how companies are really integrating culture into their brands. And you see like Warby Parker and Tom's and Google and, there's a list that goes on about how they're just integrating like community and mindfulness and yoga during lunch and meditation and all of these things. And there's a reason for it. And there's a reason they're doing really well. And there's a reason people want to work there, right? Because when you have that clarity and you have that mindset and you're able to really focus on your health first and foremost, that's, that then shows up in the brand. It shows up in productivity. It shows up in your business and then also in your relationships. And I think that the two things I see the most neglected are relationships and health. And relationships is interesting in that a lot of people, I feel like, use their job as an excuse to not really work on their relationships. And I always say, like, let's look at the picture, and maybe it's not that you need a health coach. Maybe you need a relationship coach to really work on the patterns of what was happening in your childhood and why you're self-sabotaging your relationship because you're scared of commitment and you're using your job as an excuse to push someone away. And I think that's, a really powerful thing to look at. Like, what areas of your life are just suffering because of your work, and how do we bring them into balance so that we can find fulfillment at the day? Because you can't buy relationships back, and you can't buy your health back. And so those are two really, really key things to just being an entrepreneur. And again, right now, you can take 5 minutes to deep breathe. There's so much information online. You can listen to a powerful podcast on the power of the mind. You can download free meditations. You can go to the farmer's market, on a Sunday morning and cook one meal a week to just feel what it's like to cook again. You can take your dog for a walk in the morning, things like that, that just will bring you back into alignment. You don't have to give up all those things because you're running a startup.
I actually wanted to ask you about that because I like cooking. I do a CSA, I have farmers market. But, there is that struggle, and this is very common, especially in the cities that we live in. You're in LA, I'm in New York time. But, the story of, I'm too busy to cook. I used to be that person. I used to live on takeout, and we all know that it's really unhealthy. But what do you say to people, people that excuse that I can't cook or I'm too busy?
Well, a lot of entrepreneurs, I just get in my kitchen and I'm like, hey, let's just make a salad and see how you enjoy it. And they're actually just shocked at the fact of how simple it is and how great they feel afterwards. But I think it's almost like if you didn't see your family cook and you just saw them throw McDonald's at you, it feels very scary. It's like we have to look at what patterns we saw as a child and what our relationship with food was then, and how our parents, was it a healthy relationship at the dinner table, or was it something that you just didn't want to even sit down and have conversation? It was like you avoided the dinner table with your parents. Like what's that conversation? Why aren't you taking the time to sit down at the table and really feel into what it feels like to eat your food and slow down and breathe before and after and feel gratitude for it. And then also the cooking process, like what are the patterns that you don't want to experience? I don't think you need, I don't think you need to cook every day, but I think just appreciating your food and the gratitude for it changes how it digests in your body, how you nourish your body, and not being stressed in the moment of eating is really important in terms of absorbing the nutrients you need, right, to just function. And so I think there's layers of it, and you can definitely, the first step is just gratitude, slowing down, breathing before you eat, chewing your food. Robin Euclid, she's a friend of mine. She has an entire program on just chewing your food. That's so incredible, right? Because people are going so fast. And I really am seeing her come up with this. So true. Entrepreneurs are just running. So I think there's a really, really beautiful balance, and you can find it in maybe taking a couple extra minutes and maybe a cooking class or just even seeing the food and the process of it and appreciating it, or choosing where you go and learning about the chef and just coming back to the appreciation that you need food to fuel your body to do your job as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like we definitely, kind of like what Ariana Huffington has now done for sleep. You need to change this conversation, because what you're talking about, I know because I'm also in the wellness field, and I've studied this just for my own self and myself. But a lot of people just don't know about this, and they you look around the office and see people like shoving food in while they're typing in one hand, and I mean, I do it sometimes, I'll admit it, but
I do as well.
The idea of taking time and the mindfulness and the gratitude. I mean, I got that really by going on retreat. Retreat, right? You eat silently and slowly, and you're like, wow, it's a totally different way of eating.
Totally. And you kind of really have to disconnect from your environment to have that experience so that you can come back and find the middle ground. It's interesting in that there's just a new mentality of entrepreneurs of like the hustle, don't show what you're doing, don't talk about it. Don't show your investors that you're taking a weekend off. Don't show your employer that you're taking a weekend off. Don't show your employees that you're taking a weekend off and resting and taking a break and spending time with your family. Like, there's this whole new culture of like, how hard can you push? And there's competition, and there's, the idea of like, we're working so much that we don't have time. And I think that's more dangerous than anything. So if we can start the conversation of just, I love spending time with my kids. I love being home and spending time with my spouse. I love being with my partner. I love taking Sunday morning off to go on a hike. Like, as entrepreneurs, if we can change that conversation and inspire other people to have that conversation, and like, maybe if, if you want to do a meetup and go hiking, or like, change the story a little bit so you slowly transition back into like that balanced state, so that it's not burnout retreat. It's like, or burnout doctor's office. It's more like, okay, a steady flow of health and wellness, lifestyle, a journey that's fulfillment. So at the end of your life, you've created this amazing brand and product or business, but you also, have beautiful relationships and community and friends, and you feel really good, and you can enjoy what you've created. And I think that at the end of the day is the most important thing.
And plus, I mean, we all know this is where you get the best inspiration. I mean, going for a run, going hiking, taking time off, that's where creativity comes in. And then definitely, I've learned this again the hard way. And I think what you're teaching is really definitely needed right now. I mean, especially what you said, this mindset of not taking time off and hiding our time with our family instead of working 24/7. I mean, it's definitely going to have to shift, because we're gonna drill ourselves into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And the great thing is, you see these wellness brands popping up that are supporting this lifestyle, and they're taking advantage of this, and that's great because it's bringing things back into balance. So it's exciting to see the wellness industry is booming, and I think there's and meditation is booming, right? Like, you see meditation everywhere now, where before it was like so woo woo. So for me, that's really inspiring, because I remember the times when I was literally doing yoga in my parents' basement, and they were hosting yoga instructors, and people were thinking that was woo-woo, you know? And so it's just amazing to see the trends. So yeah, so I inspire everyone, you know, watching or listening to the business side of things to really just think about it and really make a goal.
Yeah. Well, before we go, thank you so much for being with us. So tell our viewers, what are you up to next? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I've been interviewing women all over the world for my next book, and I wrote an ebook, and then I took it down and I'm repositioning it into an actual book. And it's just about the dieting and shifts, mindset shifts that can help you reprogram thinking around dieting and that conversation and that story. So instead of an actual diet protocol or book, it's like this will be like just a mind shift book on helping heal the relationship with food in your body, so then you'll reach for the Cal instead of reaching for the McDonald's.
I love this. This is great. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. I mean, the world needs to hear all this, and I absolutely love the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah,
I will see you soon out there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see you in LA. So keep in touch. Yeah, and I'll talk soon.
And at Burning Man too, right?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, we'll be at Burning Man, so we'll see you there for sure. Can't wait. Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a good one.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye. Bye, everyone.